Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to OPC Season 2. If you've just joined us, we're about to head into the second match of the evening, and that is going to be between Australia's Blank Esports and, of course, Hong Kong Attitude from Hong Kong.
Wow. Actually, Australia's Blank, except for one guy. One New Zealander on the team, an infiltrator.
Well, it's like Hong Kong Attitude's Hong Kong, except for 4 guys.
Yeah, except for 4 of them. Well, they got Hong, and then they got Kong.
Yeah.
And that was all they had space for. They had to take 4 other guys. But actually, in all seriousness, yeah, here is Blank Esports on your screens. Mostly Australian, but in any case, the representative of Oceania in this tournament. And now here is the lineup of Hong Kong Attitude.
So Hong Kong Attitude, the challenges today. Blank coming off a 2-0 victory against both Marchi Esports and Mega Thunder from last evening, and now Hong Kong Attitude, look, they're behind in standings. Hong Kong Attitude, if I'm not mistaken, 1-3. Blank is sitting at 2-0, so for Hong Kong Attitude, they're starting to really fall behind here in the standings, and they need to use this as an opportunity to catch up. Blank, though, they need to sort of solidify their second place standings. Before we get into the matches, we're going to have a few words from both sides. JFPS from Hong Kong Attitude, Trill from Blank Esports.
好，那我们这边先请问 Blank， 昨天分别以3-1跟3-0获胜，有信心今天再次获胜吗？
今天我们有信心再次获胜，毕竟我们跟
Today we would like to
算是
3-0
有渊源
again.
了，但是这次觉得也不会轻敌。
Trill doesn't know the question.
Good luck to HK, obviously.
Oh, there it is. Serenity didn't tell Trill what the question was. The question was, you had 3-0 victory yesterday. Will you look to repeat that again?
The answer was good luck to HK.
And did you have any words for Blank as well? Trill said good luck.
昨天打完之后，今天检讨完之后，某水果说，
So Mango Joy
水果
said.
说今天革命要成功。
So after yesterday's match against Flash Wolves today, Mango Joe said we're definitely going to win, and I would definitely. Serenity didn't get the handshake. Oh well, poor Serenity. Well, that's what you get for not telling Trill the question.
Yeah,
so,
it's just dessert.
You know,
that
just
serves him
desserts.
right. That was interesting. Like,
Trill's like, what? And Serenity's like,
there was this brief look on Trill's face. There was this brief look on Trill's face where she asked the question, and then the microphone got handed over, and Serenity answered, and Trill just like watched it go past, like, oh, I guess not. All right.
all right. Well, you gotta really be concerned about Hong Kong Attitude today for 2 reasons. One, they beat you in Season 1 right at the end of the tournament. So the last time, it was one of the last matches that Hong Kong Attitude had. It's certainly the last time that these 2 teams had faced off in the OPC. So now coming into OPC Season 2, the final, the last time you met, you lost. The second thing to remember is they just went 2-3 against Flash Wolves in a super close series that kind of could have gone either way. So
it came down to the wire,
you've got to be
sure. And that's the thing, right? It could have gone either way. You're completely correct, and that's a team that that Blank lost to in Flash Wolves there. So.
Take a look at the team lineup while we're doing this as well.
It doesn't mean that, that just means Hong Kong Attitude are now better than Blank. I mean, the comparisons never work that way, not ever at all. By the way, no substitutions on either side of the fence here for these 2 teams, but it would certainly imply last night's result that Hong Kong Attitude had the ability to take this to a very close series against Blank, and what they would have also done is examined what went wrong against Flash Wolves, because they did end up losing it in the end, and they will have tried to fix that up for this match tonight.
Absolutely, and I think for Blank as well, fix up some of the issues, specifically in the Marchi series, because that was, I would say, the closest series. Specifically, you want to look at the Assault here. You do not want to be dropping Assault to Hong Kong Attitude. That might be a little bit easier said than done for a team like Blank against Hong Kong Attitude now. Against coming off a loss against Hong Kong Attitude in Season 1. Also still showing some weakness on that one particular game mode. Blank need a good start here. They need to come off 2-0 and then go into Assault, potentially lose that one and finish the series 3-1, and that's the most plausible and realistic way for Blank to be winning tonight.
Yeah, I like how we all just assume they'll lose Assault. Interesting that Hubu has Zenyatta in his most picked. I do not recall him playing Zenyatta.
He's a diva one trick for this tournament. Now he plays a lot of Zarya as well, but interesting to see if it actually gets picked up.
He's clicked on the wrong Z champion. Oh no! Oh, it's too late. The graphics up. In any case, Gunba fairly represented here as being their primary support right now. Picks up their Zenyatta and indeed their Ana as well. We have seen
Sombra,
yeah, and
importantly.
Sombra. We have seen a touch of Mercy out of him, but yes, the Sombra is currently taking up that slot. RQT, just Lucio.
Just Lucio. Now, we know RQT plays the Mercy as well. So that's the other thing in this combo that RQT specifically plays. So again, the Gunba RQT combo, that is your leadership line. That is where the brains of the operation
Huss.
really happens. Huss now coming back in. Doomfist not on that list, but look, that was the hero to talk about when you think about Huss.
Yeah, not on the Doom list, as it were. What is it with, by the way? What is it with
That's
the
not
DPS
CQB, by the way.
being on
That's Mango Giant.
Yeah, what is it with the DPS being on the end of the line and waving his arms at the camera? Because Ursa did the same thing. Is this a common trend?
He watched Ursa. He's like, well, if Ursa plays Doomfist like that, I guess I need to do that. So
this is the secret.
Before I play, Muig's not doing it. So I mean, he's not in on the secret. And
Well-
for my next game as well, I'm going to be waving my arms.
But there's
about
still,
power.
they've still got to get further down the line to their other DPS players. Well,
That's the other DPS
Shivan's
player
right
now.
here, so no arm waving out of Hong Kong attitude, and honestly, that could spell the difference in the series right now.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe the other thing is maybe it only works for Ursa. It doesn't work the other way around. Interesting thing
like
here
it's good
is
luck
that
charm.
Soldier is on a Ting's list. I don't believe we've seen any Soldier out of the man, but never really counted out. Randy though, this guy's been really picking up the pace, and what you'll find interesting here is that Reinhardt and Winston are listed first. Now, Randy was supposed to be the main tank player, or at least the sub-position player of the main tank position for a Ting on the last season. Now he comes back as Flex, so actually he plays mainly Diva. CQB coming in as well. This is the real CQB. The other one was actually Mango Giant, so don't mind that.
It's the real CQB. Like, won't the
Please
real
sit down.
CQB please stand up?
Will the real CQB please play Lucio?
And occasionally Torbjorn. Actually, we didn't see a Torbjorn out of him last night when they did have a bit of an opportunity to on Hollywood, but that's an aside. That's a different match altogether.
So we got a Numbani maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, that is mostly where we see Torbjorn these days. So let's actually, I want to pull a bit of focus onto what we may expect specifically out of this, because if I'm not mistaken, it is blank with the home side here.
Yep.
Ah, there we go. And well, hey, there we go. And the thing is, they have yet to actually have a home side. This is only their second day of games so far in OPC Season 2. But yesterday, they had the away side. And that meant that in both instances, they had their opponent picking the assault map and I believe, and the control, yes. And I believe, I mean, it was, of course, in the series against Matchy that they did end up losing that assault, but also the one against Mega Thunder came a little bit closer, I think, than they were ultimately comfortable with, even though they did win it.
Yeah.
Whereas now they have that little bit of control over that situation. They do get to, control. They get to pick the assault map. And speaking of control, they get to pick the control map. It is going to be Lijiang Tower.
And Lijiang Tower is definitely one of their better maps. I think across Season 1, this was definitely their most comfortable control. This is where I'd like to say they had their best successes as well. Legendary series against AHQ on Lijiang in particular, which was super tight and extremely fun to watch. A week after that one, I remember there was that one fight that was extremely, really competitive.
Yeah. What you mean by that is long. It was extremely
It
long.
tested you.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
tested both teams, but it
I
really
actually,
tested you.
I grew a third lung just to accommodate for that fight. Like it was a spontaneous adaptation that my body made.
Yeah, well, the body does crazy things
You know what?
in
Yeah,
moments like that.
yeah. I mean, they say survival of the fittest. I mean, that's really where it counts.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I got it removed since then. I was weighing it
Oh,
down.
why? Having a third lung sounds
just-
quite useful.
For what? Like, so that I can pick up smoking and afford to lose one? Like, what? What's the use of it?
It's a very grim and dark way to sort of think about that. I was more thinking like you could run a marathon or something.
I wonder
but,
if there ever has been someone, like, born with an extra lung.
Where would you put it?
Well, it's, like, you
not
don't
enough space
put
in
it,
the
so, like, it's not, you make it sound like you build the, like, it's so when you get all your PC parts, then you put it together, like you
This
get-
one's external. I connect it via USB.
Yeah, I put in a second GPU. So I've got an extra lung to put in my kid. Where do I install it? It doesn't come with the right adapters. You're gonna need to take it back to the shop, buddy.
This one's got Japanese connections. I'm looking for a US connection.
Yeah. I need universal plugs on my child. Well, let's
boy.
go. Yeah, that was a detour. Let's talk about Lijiang Tower a little bit. I feel like Lijiang Tower is always neutral territory, but there is always going to be that factor of how strong Blank actually are on control. That being said, it was control that Hong Kong Attitude struck first blood on against Flash Wolves last night, and it was also on Lijiang Tower.
Absolutely was, so that's something to remember, and Flash Wolves, if you remember as well, they played the Doomfist McCree combo a lot. Bacon Jack says that's what they've mainly been practicing against Apex teams, and Apex teams have been using it against them. So let's take a look at what we have to expect here. It's going to be Tracer, Doomfist out of both sides.
This is going to be interesting because we've also really complimented Huss's Doomfist so far. So let's see if it was sort of, you know, just shining bright yesterday, or whether it can be a consistent thing out of this new DPS player. Already losing Trill, though, makes it a bit of a rough start for Blank, and we saw this against Matchy yesterday, actually. They were often losing the first fight and then coming back in afterwards, but this is a much quicker comeback if that is going to be the case, as they take down Mui, and now looking to go on the aggressive themselves. They're going to break off this bridge. CQB, ooh, does actually catch a boop there onto Gunba. They need to get a few trade kills here quickly, Blank. They have actually got themselves to the points. They're splitting up Hong Kong Attitude's focus now, but they need to convert more kills than just that mech out of Randy. There we go. Closing out Randy is the way to do that. Who we're losing his own mech, though. So still kind of on a knife's edge, and the stick, there we go, spins it around back in the favor of Hong Kong Attitude as they start to repel Blank from the point, pushing Huss down, and they're going to secure this one out. Looks like they will be able to take the point in just a few moments here.
And by the way, Mui got killed fairly early there, so he came back as a respawner before picking up all these kills. Shylin, much in the same fashion that DM does for Ursa, really anchors Hong Kong Attitude here. He was kind of untouched. Huss went down eventually, and Mui did so much work on that respawn, so eventually Hong Kong Attitude do get that cap in, and they are slightly ahead ultimate-wise as well, but killing Mui and not anybody else, that's what really hurt Blank.
And right now, Hong Kong Attitude on that point in the lead. It is up to Blank to get a good attack here now to really just flip that one back around. It kind of goes without saying, that's a good force transcendence, eat you up, putting the pressure on the back liners there. But Trill down already means they just press the go button with that transcendence running, and it pays off. That is a near clean team wipe, and they get themselves some good ult charge up as well. Hong Kong Attitude looking safe on the defense.
That was a big, strong gong sound there. Trill was the first one to die in this first engagement again. So Trill was the first one to die in the original engagement. Now this time kind of spelled the doom for Blank. Good news is they banked up a lot of ultimates, so they have that comeback potential that Hong Kong Attitude kind of don't necessarily have themselves, but they have tools anyway. The big one they lose is Mango Jai's Transcendence, which they used to win last time.
Double sound barrier, but RQT catches much less members than CQB. Mango Jai for Huss is a trade you're happy to make if you're Hong Kong Attitude. And as soon as that Transcendence from Gunba runs out, Blank are going to be an open book here. Plus plenty more ultimates still in the tank for Hong Kong Attitude. Eat You Up has to go the long way around to regroup for this one as they lose Gunba. Now Blank is starting to run a little bit out of steam here. They need to secure some kills quickly, and they are struggling as Eat You Up gets pegged, RQT gets bumped off, and they're actually just going to have to retreat again now.
So we are looking for a little bit more room for Huss to play in. We are noticing Huss does get focused down. Shylin was the culprit of that one that really ended Huss before he got anything done. When Huss is gone, Mui has so much space to play with. Even when Huss is here, actually, Mui does target him. So you see the Doomfist 1v1 happen, but Mui has been winning those.
Now Blank, this is kind of their last push now as Hong Kong Attitude hold it over the over 90% mark rather. Huss is going to wrap around the other side of this fight, but he needs to join the team quickly. Mango Jai picked off early is good for them, and they're keeping their own supports fairly safe. Gunba finally going down, but they've set up to exert the pressure down as they close out a Mui, but losing Huss and Trill is bad news bears for them. They desperately need to convert a lot out of Eat You Up now, and that's all they have left. Who will not get back in the mech, even as he picks a Ting, and it is all on Eat You Up. Pulse Bomb does go out, but he's only catching Randy there. Can't really demech either, and now the sound barrier as well. Eat You Up is surely not long for this world. Indeed, he is not. Overtime disappears. Trill is going to buy a few more seconds here. They may be able to get something out of it, but it's really looking bad.
Yeah, here we go. Huss is now back into the fight, but there's just no one left alive. I mean, this is very difficult. Transcendence from Gunba, I mean, it's a last-ditch effort. I just don't know if he can get anything done. It looks like just very few options and very few win conditions alive for Blank. Hong Kong Attitude should take this one out easy.
And that is indeed going to be the case. That was 100-0 as well, by the way, with no real point at which Blank was able to properly turn it around. So I don't know what that really says about this. Maybe it's just a bit of a slow start for Blank, but I mean, after Hong Kong Attitude beat Flash Wolves on control yesterday and came very close, this is looking like the first team to really challenge Blank in this tournament so far, and it's not even a team we're considering top 4 right now.
Eat Up also spent a long time going for this big flank in the final moments as well, which was really interesting. He didn't get a lot done with that. Meanwhile, Shylin was definitely dealing a lot of damage onto the Blank side. The other thing to consider is the big story for me and the big reason that Blank kind of struggled is Hus didn't get a lot of room to play with. He was kind of shut down predominantly by Shaolin a number of times. Mui, on the other hand, he had a ball. He was just killing everyone on the Blank side, and Blank had very little to respond with.
The game now on Night Market could be a bit of a different situation. Let's see what they can pull out. We need to see a little bit more out of Hus predominantly, I feel. Not quite having the same impact as before, but no one dead just yet. Not going to be an early death for Trill this time around, and it's Blank set up on the point. This is going to force Hong Kong Attitude to aggress onto it and find a time to press the go button. Knockdown onto RQT doesn't get followed up on, but yeah, go button indeed as Trill again actually is the first to go down in this one, and no response kill for Blank as they have to back up from the point. They do get Randy Mui going down as well, drawing Hong Kong Attitude a little bit too deep. They do get a couple of trades back themselves, Hong Kong Attitude, but now they're getting pressure back out. Ooh, Hus barely able to regroup with his healers, but it is Hong Kong Attitude getting fully repelled here, and that is the opening fight Blank were looking for.
And this time around, Hong Kong Attitude, last time they lost Mui early, they lost Mui early again, but DM, or rather not DM, I call him DM almost, because Shaolin has been sort of filling in that same sort of spot that DM is, trying to hold down the fort for Hong Kong Attitude, but not enough members alive for Hong Kong Attitude to really do anything. That looks like a pretty successful cap by Blank Esports. Not a lot of resistance after Mui went down.
Now getting aggressive is Hong Kong Attitude, but this is Blank just trying to draw them in for their own purposes. Double Transcendence out from Mango Giant Gun, but both. That means the Pulse Bomb from Shaolin connects with nothing. Indeed, Eat You Ups doesn't either. Maybe going sky high for the time being, and neither team quite striking blood, and now finally the Meteor Strike picks up Hus. That's a good way to secure it as Gunba goes down at the same time. And suddenly Blank find themselves up a tree without a ladder, desperately need to convert kills, and no such luck. This will be the cap flipping back over the way of Hong Kong Attitude, but 40% isn't a bad start here for Blank.
Absolutely not when you consider that was all off the back of one fight. So one fight, win 43%. I think that's pretty good dividends for the Blank team. Hong Kong Attitude now, though, in the lead. They don't just have the cap itself, they have the momentum, they have the control, and I might even say ultimate advantage, which is going to be quite important. Mui killing Hus with the Meteor Strike, definitely one of the victory points for Hong Kong Attitude to actually get the cap point back.
Yeah, this is their opportunity now. They have a couple of ultimates, but it's not heaps. Pulse Bomb wide from Shaolin is actually a window of opportunity as he's now forced to retreat. Meteor Strike in from Hus, but he needs to convert off it or it's just going to go to waste. But Eat You Up getting something out of the Pulse Bomb is maybe just all they need. Yeah, Mui takes down his counterpart though. That is very big. And now goes Hunter Killer on Huwu. That's a Transcendence out of Gunba, and that might just be all they need as they convert onto Mango Jai. Now getting themselves on the point actually puts a lot of pressure onto Hong Kong Attitude. They're starting to close out a few more kills here, even as Gunba goes down. Mango can maybe flip it back around with his Transcendence, but he won't be able to save the crucial members anymore and is just going to hold on to it. I think that is a smart call, but it will mean the cap goes the way of Blank in the moment here.
It should go over to Blank any time now, but Hong Kong Attitude did get a little bit more progress there. They take the lead back once again. You can actually tell that Hong Kong Attitude have done their research, studied Blank Esports, what Blank was successful on yesterday was as well. So Hus has just kind of been backed off into the corner for the majority of this game.
Yeah, certainly not getting the same kind of impact right now, but if there is one thing that can be said for Hus, it is his ability to learn and adapt throughout the series. We saw the same thing against Bacon Jack yesterday. He figured out what Bacon Jack was and was not doing, and this is a good dive by a Ting to get on to Gunba, who is now corner trapped. Going to be bumped off the edges if he's not careful. The sound barrier to try and keep him alive as they did get Mui in the self-destruction. Now a Ting just kind of has to retreat. Hong Kong Attitude are actually a bit too split up to keep the aggression on, and that was a lot of resources committed to try and kill Gunba.
Absolutely, and you know, mechanically as well, Ting made a couple of mistakes there. Should have just gone for the environmental straight off the bat. The corner trap didn't really work there. Good moves by Gunba to actually try and get out of the way, and just a Ting. Primal Rage, not what he's looking for. Mui now as well didn't get the engage. He was missed a punch. Meanwhile, Hus gets a kill, gets killed as well.
Yeah, 1 for 1 again. They're happy to take that. Popping Randy's mech here is good news for Blank, and suddenly Hong Kong Attitude looking a little bit worse for wear. Just really have to press the go button. Hus will be able to get back in quickly with the Meteor Strike, and Mui quickly down as well as he tries to get on the point. Was maybe a little bit too quick on the button there because the tanks weren't ahead of him, as now Mango gets picked up on the backside by Eat You Up. The pressure still being exerted by him. Nice pick up by Shaolin, but I don't know if it's going to be enough, and indeed it's not, as Hus again secures a Ting. Randy will buy some time with the self-destruct, but buy time for whom, as Randy himself goes down, will not remech, and unless Mui gets a hero play here, it is looking all over for Hong Kong Attitude as the score will get even up. Let's see what the Meteor Strike can do for him. It won't quite catch Hus, who is able to dodge away with his own uppercut there. The last few members of Hong Kong Attitude to be cleaned up, trickling onto the point a little with that. As a decent pulse bomb, but the secure is there as the Transcendence runs out. 1-1 now.
That pulse pump kill by Shailin right at the end there, pretty poetic against Huss because Shailin has been the main guy killing Huss despite Mui winning some of the 1v1s as well. So look, Huss has been doing the best that he can do when he's alive. He's killing guys like a Ting. When Mui, on the other hand, he's actually been dying to a fair number of players on the blank side, despite the fact that Ting, you know, mechanical errors just slightly on the side as well. I think there's a lot of focus from Hong Kong Attitude specifically onto Huss. But once you get Huss, they're not actually killing too many other players on the other side. So that's been a bit of an issue.
It has so far, but honestly, Blank really kind of, I don't want to say turned it back around because that wasn't like some kind of blowout, but they went from being 100 to 0 to getting just under 50%, giving 50% and then capping back and going to 100. This is the one, if it is a proper turnaround, where I would expect them to 100 to 0 Hong Kong Attitude.
Or the other way happens because, look, Machi beat Blank on this already, so Hong Kong Attitude could naturally do the same thing. If this was the only one stage of Lijiang where I had to raise questions about Blank's gameplay.
And coming out the gate with this McCree Doomfist, the McDoomfist as you like to call it. And Hong Kong Attitude going to go ahead and stick with the Doomfist and Tracer. So we'll have to see who is the more impact as Mui getting very aggressive, does dodge that briefly, but flashbangs to death. They did pick up Gunba, which is what they wanted, and they are the ones on the point. Great pick on Huss as well. Means actually Blank are very much out of steam unless EDU gets some crazy kills here. They're going to put the aggression on the point themselves, though, with their tanks in, but it goes right into an EMP. Suddenly, they have no good way of retreating as Trill gets picked. They are on the cusp of losing Hubu as well as he gets demexed, and this is looking like cleanup now for Hong Kong Attitude, who will also get themselves a cap.
It's a very dangerous position for Blank to be in because you are playing against a Sombra, and Sombra is not difficult to deal with except when the Sombra team actually has control of the cap itself. Mango Joe now has all the health packs that he wants. Now you got guys like Huss that can't take advantage of health packs, but more importantly, EMPs coming up is really going to deny Huss from getting anything done again.
Mango just keeping a lot of pressure on the side here. Shailin picks Eat You Up. That's a big 1v1 rather. Randy gets back in the mech as well, and actually Hong Kong Attitude looking in very, very good shape for this fight already. Blank probably just going to have to take this one on the chin and regroup, and that is indeed what they are going to do. No one else going down.
Love to see how many more times Blank can afford to go for these returns to the spawn and regroup with their team. And look, you wanted to be able to do that because you are a player down, but you're losing a lot of progress here. One fight is basically what Hong Kong Attitude have won so far. 1.5 maybe if you want to be generous. 41% and climbing. Mango Jai goes down. That's got to be the go button for Blank Esports.
And it is. Huss is straight in onto the back line as they pick Mui as well. And Huss is still actually not dead or been answered. Adds a flashbang as well, just to kind of waste a Ting's time. They will get Eat You Up, but Blank are fighting for the point. Hong Kong Attitude kind of have to come back into this one. Huss actually hasn't had his health topped off just yet, so he's in a bit of a tight spot. May just go down to Mango Jai. He's still alive somehow, but they have lost Gunba, so his ability to get topped off is even rougher now. The Meteor Strike goes wide, goes down to Shailin, and there we go. Hong Kong Attitude start to pull it back now, just kind of weathering that storm, and Blank were a little bit too split.
So the flashbang headshot from Eat You Up onto Mango Jai, look, that was a really good play, but you needed to make something happen in the time that Mango was down because Mango still charging the EMP. By the time he comes back into the fight, the EMP does come into play. That's exactly what Hong Kong Attitude used. Blank Esports, no good response there, and now the cap is still climbing. We haven't had a flip yet. Blank needed to get that cap, and Hong Kong Attitude did not let them.
Now Hong Kong Attitude have some good DPS ultimates. That's a great stick on Trill. Doesn't close out the kill, but does force the Primal Rage. Yeah, Deadeye out catches CQB. They will need a lot more than just that, though, as they come on with their Transcendence out of Gunba. Getting pressured back now is Hong Kong Attitude, but no one is dead, crucially. They have used up their resources, though. Randy DMX now, and a Ting getting hard pressured. That's a good closeout on him, actually, and that could be all it takes to tip the balance here as Mui gets picked just as the EMP comes up, so they opt not to commit it. They let the cap go over, and Blank, they're still in us.
I think Hong Kong Attitude played that quite disciplined. They saw that Trill used the Primal Rage. So we're looking for options. How can we get the rest of the members? They couldn't get any kills there. Mango Jai had EMP pretty much the entire time as well. So look, Mango Jai could have attempted to use that. Good to save it though, because you're unlikely to build another quick EMP for your next push now that you don't have control. This could be the winning push here. If you catch enough players in this EMP, I think it's all over.
Yeah, there we go. There's the connect, but he doesn't catch Huss, who has actually swapped onto this Tracer. Shailin gets pressured. This is a Ting. They do a bit of a trade here. Huwu is still in this as they pick off Mui. Shailin has had to go to full retreat, which means Eat You Up has space for now, but he needs to be careful. Flashbang goes wide as Randy closes that one out, but Trill closes out on Randy before he remakes. Huwu gets back in the mech, and Blank do just barely hold tight.
Yeah, for the time being as well. That was definitely the hardest fight for Blank Esports, so now they have a lot more opportunities to keep continuing this hold onwards. Mango Jai sticking onto the Sombra for the time being, doesn't have health pack control, so it will take him longer to get the EMP up. Now they should probably take advantage of the fact that Huss is down.
Wow.
Hardcore Attitude have a window here, but they got to make it count now.
Mui goes in to make it count and slam dunks Gunba off the top. They do pick back on Shaolin. Mui's pressured though, and he may just go down. They're trying to get the closeout with Shrill, but he needs to not overextend as EU up goes down. And indeed, they're getting completely split out. Someone should be capping, and now someone is capping as the members of Blank get largely wiped here. Hubu will be able to remech, and now he's going to need that to buy time for his team so that they can maybe come in and respawn. But they still need to get kills somewhere here as Huss gets picked. EMP out onto Hubu, demechs him as Gunba will not save said mech. And now Blank, worse for wear, coming into this point, having to dodge the self-destruct as well. Someone's got to stay on it. It's Trill right now, and they're still not getting kills. A team can last out with this Primal Rage only just ending now. Shaolin picking up these backliners as they try and gun for the point. He takes out Gunba and RQT both. Eat You Up is dead. There is no DPS on the point, and it is looking like Hong Kong Attitude had this one on lockdown for this final stretch. Secure it out 2-1.
Oh, that was definitely a very difficult one for Blank Esports. I think Huss felt the most pressure of all. Huss has been pressured throughout this entire series. Look, on his best pick, which is Doomfist, he had impact. He was getting some kills despite being pressured continuously by Shaolin. Shaolin is his biggest enemy from Hong Kong Attitude right now because Shaolin has been the one guy that continually shuts down Huss at any stage of the game. Doesn't matter where Blank Esports are, doesn't matter where Hong Kong Attitude are, Shaolin is constantly outplaying Huss, and that's been a problem. Huss changes off the Doomfist because he doesn't want to get EMP'd. That's good. Goes on the Tracer, still continually loses to Shaolin, who just picks him up anytime he wants.
The thing I find surprising there as well, obviously Blank were really valuing having the McCree, because if you want a Tracer, why not put I Eat You Up on the Tracer? He is one of the best Tracer players in this tournament. There have been times where we have considered him straight up the best Tracer player in this tournament during Season 1. So why not him, right? Maybe it's because they valued the McCree. Maybe the timings didn't quite work out, but at any rate...
I'll tell you what.
At any rate, look, Huss is a decent Tracer player in his own right. He's played Tracer before and he is good at it. Maybe it's that his own McCree isn't as good as Eat You Up's, and they really did value that McCree. But on the whole, I just couldn't help but watch that feeling like they would have had a bit more impact with I Eat You Up on that Tracer, at least going toe-to-toe with Shaolin.
So the reason is because they want to play the McDoomfist combo, so you have to have a good McCree play, have to have a good Doomfist play. Huss is the dedicated Doomfist player. If you're going to have a hit scan play, it's going to be Eat You Up. And the other reason is if you're going to change off the McCree, which is supposed to be the play you want to change off, that's when Eat You Up goes back on the Tracer. You can run Tracer Doomfist. That's another composition that is quite safe for a team like Blank, and for a lot of teams. You watch Ardian play Tracer Doomfist predominantly. They pretty much only play that, and it's their best composition. So you don't want to be changing up too far. The reason why Huss had to go into Tracer was because he was getting shut down by Mango time and time and time again. The big problem was, at least on Doomfist, he was getting return kills. When he goes onto the Tracer, I mean, he's just dead meat for Shaolin. He was dead meat for Shaolin on the Doomfist. He's even more dead meat for Shaolin on the Tracer.
And the thing is, look, EMP really neuters Doomfist, but it still
take a look
really
at the replay while we're
hurts
doing
Tracer's mobility as well.
This was the fight where Blank actually did manage to turn it around. So I think Blank hold on for at least about 40% here, and Mango Jai already used the EMP, so this was a very dangerous fight for Blank. They knew they had to hold on to this fight if they had any chance, which is, again, maybe an obvious thing to say, but they did a good job of it because Mango Jai, the EMP could have ended this fight right here, and right then and there, essentially.
Yeah.
But it didn't because Blank were able to find the picks. EMP kind of neutered. Mango Jai had to go on the recharge, and he only had, what, 40, 50%? The start of the next fight, so it wasn't really a big deal.
And the key thing that happened there is Blank knew that they would only need the EMP, like that was the only tool they had to leverage, I mean, and they kind of drew Hong Kong Attitude in. They were able to pick off Mui, which meant, yeah, EMP connects, but we see this a lot, right? EMP coming down when there's no real DPS to follow it up, and a Ting was already too low to really get much for it. He had to choose to either go in and maybe get a kill, but probably just die, or retreat. He chose the latter, and then ended up still dying anyway a little bit later on. That meant Randy was the only tank. He got taken out of the mech and then killed immediately afterwards. And it was just really well read and reacted to by Blank on the whole.
Absolutely, and Hong Kong Attitude, you got to commend them on the other hand, on the other side of that. They had some pretty disciplined plays, including, you know, the play just prior to what we saw in the replay, which is Mango Jai holding onto the EMP, realizing, look, it's 99%, we can actually afford to let the point go here, and come in with this big EMP fight. And that's when we got to really commend Blank because they held on for what they could, but the next time around, that's when it sort of started to really fall apart. And look, Hong Kong Attitude were ahead anyway. I'm not super surprised they picked up Control Center. Control Center is the one stage of Lijiang that I have the most concerns about in terms of Blank, because that was the one they struggled the most against Machi. They had a 99-99, then they lost it to Machi in the Golden Point, and now they've also lost it to Hong Kong Attitude, and not just that, but the whole map.
Yeah, now King's Row is going to be Hong Kong Attitude's pick. So Blank, actually, we often consider Control to be their strongest map type, and unfortunately already losing that one, so now they very much need to pick up wins here. If they do actually take this one as a loss, we do have to start sweating a little bit if you're a Blank fan, because Assault is traditionally their weakest map type. So there would be questions raised, to be sure, and Hong Kong Attitude as well did actually pick up Assault last night against Flash Wolves. So I think key thing here for Blank is we need to see a little bit more coming out of Huss, regardless as to what Hong Kong Attitude are playing and regardless as to what pick Huss is on, because right now he isn't actually having the same impact as yesterday, and that does seem to be the biggest difference between Blank today and Blank yesterday.
It's not really him, it's more Shaolin on the other side. So if you want more impact out of Huss, you got to protect him a little bit more. You have to give them the space that Mui gets when Shaolin really starts to go off, particularly on a guy like Huss. Look, Shaolin has been the enemy of Huss so far in this series. He's been the one guy that seriously shuts Huss down. A lot of other people in the Hong Kong Attitude, yes, no, maybe, but absolutely Shaolin every single time, without a doubt.
I think you're completely right there. And to that end, you almost want to see I Eat You Up back on the Tracer for that reason, because he absolutely can go toe-to-toe with Shaolin on that Tracer. And indeed often get the better of him, and that's why we've considered Eat You Up to be one of the best Tracers in this tournament, because against other Tracers who are considered in that really top percentage in this tournament, he often still comes out on top.
Absolutely, I think that's the key to go here, because when you look at the other side of Hong Kong Attitude, Mui's had moments. He's also had a lot of moments where he gets shut down. So Mui hasn't been a big problem. Mui's been doing great when Shaolin has been doing the shutting down on the other side against Blank. So actually, you know, it has to be pressure onto Shaolin from a guy like AEU. He's one of the best Tracers in the tournament. Now it's time to prove why. And in fact, if you want to maintain that title, especially if you want to maintain that title close to Bacon Jig, you need to actually take down Shaolin, because I would actually say that Shaolin is not just caught up, but he may be overtaking some of the other Tracers now, including AEU.
Yeah, so far that's looking to be the case. So really, Eat You Up needs to prove that that's not the case. He actually has to fight to hold on to that title right now, because you're completely right. Shaolin fast gaining on him, and not quite sure which of these two teams is defending first. Hong Kong Attitude, we've actually seen, even when they have the pick, have often opted to attack first, and that is indeed what's going to happen here.
So Hong Kong Attitude in general, though, so we talk about players catching up, teams catching up is really important. Don't forget, Hong Kong Attitude beat Blank the last time these two teams met. Blank want to change history now. They want to make sure it's not going to be a second loss against Hong Kong Attitude. But Hong Kong Attitude, they smell blood already, 1-0. I mean, this is Blank definitely on the back foot.
Yeah, and hot off a near loss against Flash Wolves, who themselves have beaten Blank. So this is Hong Kong Attitude wanting to say, look, we are between these two teams now. Better than Blank, maybe not quite good enough to beat Flash Wolves just yet, but we are going to be the team that displaces you from the top 3 if you're not careful, Blank.
I like this composition out of Hong Kong Attitude as well. Something that we
saw
boy yesterday. And look, if you want to shut down Shaolin as AEU up, it's not going to happen. Shaolin's actually going to be the one onto the Doomfist this time around. So this is what we saw against Flash Wolves yesterday.
Yeah, and Mui shutting down Eat You Up on the Tracer. So I was saying, I want to see him go back to that. That being said, Blank have held out for now, despite losing that Tracer. They haven't given up too much ground and are keeping the shield very low. Shaolin's actually in a bit of trouble. It is the third capped out there, but now Blank are actually putting on the pressure as Eat You Up is about to rejoin the team here. So they can just kind of give up that third willingly. That's what the pick on Eat You Up bought for Hong Kong Attitude, but it's not over just yet. Oh, twice, son.
How many more times will AEU Up get caught out by Mui? I mean, Shaolin just gets all the space, so he's like, well, AEU Up's dead. I'm just going to dive into the enemy team. Look how many tanks we got. Deadeye picks up RQT.
That's big.
By the way, Riz is available.
And they've got the closer respawn. Shaolin completely going off to close that one out there. And that was all Mui opening it up, all Shaolin closing it down. And the cap is put through. The payload is underway.
I mean, this is just so familiar territory for Hong Kong Attitude. You know, they didn't have this kind of success against Flash Wolves yesterday on King's Row, despite running the exact same composition. And this is where they struggle. The streets phase, they got really blocked up here. Hong Kong Attitude suddenly couldn't find any opening. Flash Wolves had their number. Flash Wolves had all the positioning. Hong Kong Attitude had some momentum. They're using that momentum now, but when does it dissipate? When does Blank Esports actually stabilize? When does Blank Esports actually have this defense on lockdown at Hong Kong Attitude? Do not get a chance to walk forward.
Well, it's when they try and dive Mui out of his spot and they commit the nano boost to make that possible. quick res out, but they haven't actually got any further kills off the back of it just yet. Trill does get caught up in the grab. They finally pop Huwu's mech, but that's all they got so far. Does Deadeye also gets nothing. Huss equally getting nothing with the tactical visor. As I say that, he closes out on a ting, and that could be all they need here.
Eat up down.
But eat up down, yeah. And this is Shaolin again starting to really go off. Blank are now the ones actually struggling to close out these kills. The flashbang on Trill to take him out. They do get CQB in among the chaos, but doesn't really count for much. The sleep, so that Shaolin doesn't get anything extra, but the payload's underway. That's what really counts here.
Absolutely, and there's still more ultimates in the bank for Hong Kong Attitude. A big one, the Earthshatter could be game-winning right here. Really closing out the push for Hong Kong Attitude against Blank if they're not really careful. You just got to get past Trill's bubble, then you can slam it down. Cart's really close now. You got to feel the pressure if you're Blank.
And they are going right now. They need to convert that pressure into some kills, though, very, very quickly. They do have the tools for it, and a ting, getting the shield broken quite a lot here is helping them, but he's also getting it recharged quite quickly without anyone dying. And that's the key thing. Hong Kong Attitude are managing their downtimes here with these tags. Randy now with this nano boost on and a ton of charge, but they pick up Shaolin and Mui, and that could just be all they need. Randy now needs to get a lot done with that high charge, or it's not going to count for much. And he's desperately trying to take out Trill, but Hong Kong Attitude are forced into retreat, at least for the time being. Plenty of time, though, to close out the second point. Trill's continuing on this one. He does not want to let them get away that easily. Now he's going to have
You got to be careful here because you're giving Randy a lot of energy. He's sitting on over 9. There's a grab. This is going to be deadly.
Doesn't get eaten. They're actually alive for now, and Trill pops the primal rage to stay alive, but the healers are dead. Huss starting to turn it back around. There we go. That's the kills they needed, both teams, in fact, and there's the big res. That's what Hong Kong Attitude were waiting for, and that's going to completely tip the scale. So indeed, Blank overextending a little bit too far into Randy's graviton.
Oh, another flashbang.
Flashbang right as the recall comes in. So Eat You Up is stalled for a bit of extra time. They do bleed that whole shebang for about a minute, but Hong Kong Attitude capping without really being stopped up.
Look at that, big smiles on Mui's face as well. He knows every time he lands a flashbang on Eat You Up, that's going to be a win in Hong Kong Attitude's book, and they're certainly not pushing, they're certainly not slowing down this push either. This is what the hot composition and the push looks like when flash walls don't shut them down. This is what it looks like when CQB does get that res, unlike last night when he couldn't.
Now Mango Jai with this nano boost out as Gunba has committed his own onto Trill, who takes a big fist to the jaw out of Shaolin.
Doesn't go down though. So Huss is back onto now this Doomfist. This is his primary pick. This is now his most well-known pick, getting the best results. I'm expecting a lot now that Blank Esports can actually hold on to this defense.
And as you say that, Shaolin on that Doomfist picks off Trill. Huss goes down to Randy as he was unable to find his own pick. And it just seems that Blank can't quite get these crucial picks when they need them most. Another flashbang to secure Huwu as he D-max. And the payload is now at the point where Blank only have one fight left.
Absolutely, and Randy's sitting on another Graviton Surge. Look, the first Graviton Surge in Streets phase was so deadly up from Randy. By the way, CQB's close to that res. If there's another big res, that's going to be a game winner, and Blank Esports won't have an answer.
All right, Trill's in first, and he's not going to last very long. He's really just there to buy time, but there's the nano boost going out. Doesn't get eaten, this grab, and that's already 4 or 5 members dead now for Blank. One of them was Trill, who was already dead previously, and Eat You Up cannot contest himself. That is a stunning time to be set there by Hong Kong Attitude, and Blank really are going to have the time pressure on their attack.
I mean, these guys look like great white sharks right now, and you can definitely tell, like, they can sense that Blank are wounded. They know that Blank are not getting out of this one, and they're looking to devour Blank alive. And that's exactly what is going to happen if Blank do not turn things around right now. If you're not going to win King's Row, you're going to assault. And look, I think that's a bit of a write-off, so that's not even going to be something to talk about anymore. It sounds like beating a bit of a dead horse, but if you're Blank, you are going to be that dead horse.
Yeah, it's absolutely... Yeah, they're smelling the blood in the water, exactly. But the funny thing is, they're the ones who drew first blood on that control. So, you know, they drew the blood that they are currently smelling in the water. But it's going in for the kill. That's really what it is. You're completely right. Hong Kong Attitude, they know that if they get past this with a win, then they're on to Assault, which is Blank's least favorite map type, having already taken 2 losses at that point. Hong Kong Attitude are currently looking very well poised, and you're right, all pressure is on now for Blank to even up the score, and quickly.
And they have had some good moments here. They've had moments where they've really stopped up Hong Kong Attitude, really forced Hong Kong Attitude back, but something that hasn't happened, at least not on this map. They don't get those big team wipes. They don't get even close to big team wipes. They get a couple key members down. Shaolin maybe goes down. Maybe Mui goes down. A couple of frontline tanks. Then you look at Hong Kong Attitude and say, okay, we're going to back off. Streets phase. We have the room here. We have the HP here. We're not going to get overcommitted on by Blank, thankfully. And we're going to get our members back. By the way, big ultimates, big value every single time. The only ultimate that they didn't get big value off was the Earthshatter. But every single grab, good. The reses, good. And Blank, don't have anything against it.
That's a good place for the spray. Actually,
That's
kind of accentuates the line of the head there quite well.
Also, like, you know, that's the Omnic hate happening again.
Yeah, graffiti. How does
Graffiti on
how does
Omnic
Lucio
statue.
get up there?
I don't know, man. Lucio can do some crazy things in this game. Lucio actually has a passive wall climb ability, just like Hanzo.
Yeah, but only when you're not looking.
Yeah.
You turn around and suddenly he's at the top of a tower. But here's going to be the attack now out of flank. They're actually opting to run the Soldier Doomfist here. I don't know. We don't have a good name for this one just yet. Doom 76?
Doomfist 76.
Soldier Fist? I don't know. But Huss, on that Doomfist, dies to his counterpart in Shaolin. That's not an ideal start. And actually, it means Blank...
Just Shaolin, right?
Yeah, Blank have kind of swapped sides here, so they have to now last out while they wait for Huss to rejoin the fight. If anyone else dies, this is going to be very disastrous, but they've held alive, and now suddenly Hong Kong Attitude are kind of stuck in the low ground of this one with Blank surrounding them on all sides. But Huss, again, the first to go down. That being said, Blank have got a third through this because Hong Kong Attitude aren't actually on the point, but Eat You Up, if he dies here, they'll lose a lot of the pressure that they've actually had, and Gunba going down means he's got no healer to retreat to. They may just have to give up this position, even as they get, I think they're just shy of a second third here. Eat You Up even gets kills as Randy starts going off, D-Mex, Huwu, and they close out on CQB as well. They might just want to keep this one going because of the closer respawns here. Shoulders go down off the back end, but they pick Mango Jai as well, and Eat You Up is still doing a ton of work. Randy is actually now surrounded. His shield is broken. He's got a ton of charge.
He's getting kills, though.
Yeah, he's got a lot of charge, though, so he's still getting these kills through, saves some teammate, and now commits the grab to secure this one out. The Transcendence forced out and comes in a bit too late. The Dead are getting RQT in the middle of that as well, and Blank, after all that, get repelled just shy of 2/3.
And Hong Kong Attitude just have all the answers here. Look, you want to go on Randy. Cool, he's got about 100 energy. By the way, his shields are coming off cooldown. You're not surrounding Randy. Actually, Hong Kong Attitude has you surrounded because your team, as the attackers, are split. Your team is just in total shambles. Half of your team is respawning. Half of your team is behind enemy lines. That's not an advantage. That's a disadvantage. Randy cleans you up after getting Kuru down. Nice grab. And then you try and transcend it. Cool, now there's a Deadeye. What are you going to do against that?
Oh, trying to dive onto Shaolin, but every time that happens, he seems to kill someone. The Meteor Strike as well, and Huss goes down in the middle of that.
Rude
right on top of Trill. Yeah, Rude Awakening straight into the Primal Rage. Shaolin does have to retreat, but honestly, no one's gone down to Eat You Up's Tactical Visor. Now Hong Kong Attitude can just go back in. Huss is still not quite with the team just yet, and they've figured out what Eat You Up has been doing, so Shaolin goes straight in there to deliver a punch, you know. Like, knock, knock, open up the door, it's real.
Yeah, look, it's eviction time. You got to leave your hotel room. Yeah. That's the message that he's sending.
With a fist. Like, that's a really, like, that's brutal way of doing it. And Trill as well. Shaolin is all over this kill feed, and we are seeing Huss on the wrong side of it. That is indeed a hammer to secure the Deadeye. And now with 1 minute left, Blank are looking very shy on time.
I mean, look, just Mui is definitely doing so much work on this McCree as well. This is the McCree that you wanted to see out of Eat Up on Control Center. You did see a little bit of it. You saw some flashbangs, but most of the flashbangs have been connecting out of Mui. Look, this guy's been smiling more than I've ever seen them smile in the OPC. It's actually insane right now. Hong Kong Attitude, this defense is so rock solid. Blank Esports are trying to find openings here, but they're seriously running out of time.
Every time. Huss has been the first guy to die. That is absolutely disastrous. They barely have time to wait for the respawn. But I tell you, if he's the first to die in this final fight, it's all over for Blank.
They got a couple of ultimates, and Huss is going to be one of them. But Meteor Strike, difficult to play around, difficult to set up. Randy getting another grab. Randy's had the best grabs so far that I've seen from Hong Kong. Well,
we
have the only one playing, but in this
Randy has the best grabs. I've seen it. It's true.
And Huru's on Lijiang, so look, this is one of Huru's best picks, but the problem is you now can't eat any of the grabs. Not that any of the grabs have been eaten, but you can't actually pressure Randy out from using that grab.
Yeah, Huru is a great Zarya in his own right, but a long way from his own grab. It's going to be a long, protracted fight if he does get it up, but here we go. They're committing into the grab. It is a good one, too. And they're not on the point.
Because they got grabbed out.
Wow.
Dude, that's Randy with the 9,000 IQ play.
Excuse me. Yeah, that was a phenomenal...
Randy's like, you know how we can just win this? If I grab you to the wall and you can't touch the cat.
Yeah, and actually, they were sending Eat You Up around the other side on the Tracer to try and get a foot on the point, but he just wasn't there in time. That was so rough.
I want to give, you know, like, by the end of this, like, Mui was impressive, but I was far more impressed by Randy in the series because you have really had a chance to see Randy shine. Mui's had many great moments. This should be the triple kill Deadeye, if I'm not mistaken. And now you're going to see a headshot kill right at the end of this as well. Who does he get that on? Oh my Oh, you gotta feel bad if you eat you up.
What's even
Continuously
looking-
gets these headshots and eat you up. Like, he's got like homing bullets. I mean, it's like, what is eat you up's like this werewolf and he's just got silver bullets from every time.
Okay, sure. That's one explanation.
I got a lot of ways. I can do it in different ways too, but sure, that's one.
I don't know that that's the most feasible explanation, but I'll give it, like, yeah, maybe eat you up as a werewolf. You're right. We can't rule it out.
Yeah. Have you seen his hair lately? Just by. He's nearly there. He's
Like they
nearly
sub him out on the full moon.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Oh, man.
who knows? Who knows? It just so happens.
Have you
that
seen
there was-
Eat Up on Horizon Lunar Colony?
Yeah. It just so he's on the moon. I've always wondered that, right? Like, any werewolf story set in the modern day should have the potential for the werewolf to get to the moon. Like, what would happen if a werewolf was on the moon? Are you just always in wolf form? Like, how does that
No,
work?
like even better though. Does proximity do anything? Like if you're closer, are you stronger? Like does that how it works or no?
Or is it like you slowly transform into a wolf the closer to the moon you get, but like if you turn around and come back, you just start like going back into human form? Like what? I mean, these are the real questions. Like someone's got to answer this.
Don't mind how Blank are losing.
Are there any werewolf experts out there?
All right, let's take a look at the replay now to actually figure out what was happening in this game. This is going to be the attack phase. It should be, if I'm not mistaken, a triple res out of this.
So this is also Randy commits this grab, and this was actually Blank's overextension. Trill decided he wanted more, went just a little bit too deep, and Randy had so much charge, it wasn't really respected. A lot of ultimates were committed. Yeah, here comes CQB. A lot of ultimates were committed out of Blank, and they felt good because they felt that they had kind of weathered the storm, but they'd totally forgotten about the res, it seems, and actually it was Hong Kong Attitude who were weathering the storm.
So the problem I'm seeing with this Kings Row series is, look, we talk about Lijiang, we talk about Shailin shutting down Hus. That didn't change for Kings Row. But when we came to Kings Row, what did change is now suddenly Mui shuts down IU up. So we were talking about the fact that how are you going to stop Shailin from pressuring Hus? Maybe EU up goes back on the Tracer, which he did. Challenges Shailin, which he did. Problem though, Mui constant headshots, constant flashbangs, just sending IU up back into the spawn room time and time again.
And by the way, on Lijiang Tower, when we had Eat You Up on McCree and we still had Shailin on the Tracer, he was not having that same impact in response, by the way. So that's actually quite a significant thing. I mean, if on the Tracer he's getting shut down, and if he's on the McCree and not shutting down the enemy Tracer, that is an inherent disparity that is essentially unmitigatable unless something drastic changes there. So that's just something Blank are going to have to deal with for the remainder of this series if they're going to turn it around and then go away and address later on in practice to figure out what exactly is going wrong there in the execution, because Eat You Up is actually a really good Tracer, knows how to avoid those McCrees hunting for flashbangs, and also knows how to predict out Tracers to land good flashbangs. We just need to see that happening again.
Let's take a look at the next replay now. This is going to be on, if I'm not mistaken, the other side around. Blank trying to attack here. Hus already swapped onto the Widowmaker, so Hus was trying to get things done, if I'm not mistaken, on the Doomfist, but just really couldn't find an opening there. So not too unlike some of the other moments. And trying to go through the moments here. Randy's about to hit that Graviton again. So this is the moment when Randy's roughly around 90 charge, close to 100 charge. You're thinking, is Randy surrounded? I'm thinking kind of, but at the same time, look at where Blank are. Blank are actually completely disconnected. That's a big issue for Blank if I'm really looking at that, because you're surrounding Randy, but you're only surrounding Randy if you're actually all converging on him, and that's not happening because you're all just split instead.
And disconnect is actually something we've seen a lot throughout this game so far with Blank, both here and on Lijiang Tower. We saw moments where they were just a little bit disconnected for one reason or another, but in the end, the overarching thing is something is going wrong in the positional play right now for Blank, which is unusual. It's actually something that they were exceptionally good at just yesterday. So you really do start to wonder what's happening there. And look, maybe it is an off day, but you can't afford off days.
The thing you have to remember here is, look, I think they had some successes yesterday, but I also think they had a lot of moments where they had to win when they were very far behind. They had to win when they had very tough moments. And the fact is, you got in those tough moments to start with against a team like Machi. And nothing against Machi, who have been really showing up anyway. They've been seriously improving this season. But look, Blank didn't look comfortable against Machi. Then you just look at Machi versus Ardian. Totally different tier of gameplay. Look, Ardian were completely crushing it. Blank did not beat Machi the way that Ardian just beat Machi. And I think for Blank, we talk about the fact that Blank are coming in as a team, still gelling, new members, just still practicing together. Now you're getting pushed by a slightly better team like Hong Kong Attitude. The cracks are definitely showing, and we're running out of time as well, because the third map will be coming. It is going to be Assault. It's a tough time for Blank right now. Final chance to get back in the series. That all happens after this break. Thank you for sticking with us through that break as we're about to head now into map number 3 of our second match of the evening in OPC Season 2. Is between Blank and Hong Kong Attitude. And what I want to bring up first is, look, yesterday we talked about the fact that Hong Kong Attitude feel like this wildcard team. They feel like a roller coaster, and right now it feels like we're peaking once again on that roller coaster. And the thing I got to mention about that is, you look at past results. Hong Kong Attitude versus Mega Thunder in Week 1. That was a loss. That was a big loss too. If I'm not mistaken, it was 3-0 to Mega Thunder. And then you had a Hong Kong Attitude that nearly beat Flash Wolves last night. And now you got a Hong Kong Attitude about to potentially 3-0 Blank. So you just never really quite know where Hong Kong Attitude are going to be at. Is it going to be a peak? Is it going to be a trough? Who knows?
As much as you do say that, though, I think something that is actually starting to happen now is, after that initial, whatever it was that was going on, they're actually stabilizing. And that's this feeling I'm actually getting from this series.
You're getting back to the station where people get off and new people come back on.
Yeah, and like the weight distribution is just overall better. But well, it's actually happening. I mean, even if you look at last night, it was close and they nearly won it, but it was actually really chaotic. It was not clean play. Tonight, they're ahead. They're resoundingly ahead. They are solidly winning. They just first held Blank on King's Row after fully capping themselves with a great time. And they're doing it very consistently and very cleanly, especially when you compare it to their series against Flash Wolves, which felt very hit or miss at places. So, on the whole, I'd say Hong Kong Attitude's trajectory is upward. And something we've been talking about so far this tournament is starting to come true a little bit, and that's for these returning top 3 teams, plus new entrant Ardent, who are looking like they'll be top 4, top 3 material. There is closer competition in general, and the question we've had is, where will the displacement come from? They're not secure in that position, and not just because Ardent are kind of entering into it, it's also because of teams like Hong Kong Attitude, and also matching Mega Thunder with very much the potential to pick off wins here and there. Right now, this is looking like Blank losing that top 4 security.
And it's actually quite exciting in terms of results, because now results start to become a lot more unpredictable. It's not like last season where you're like, oh, is it Fireball versus somebody? Oh, they're going to lose to these guys but beat these guys. Is it AHQ versus somebody? Okay, they'll lose to Blank, they'll lose to AHQ, but they'll beat these other teams. Now you're getting to a stage where Hong Kong Attitude versus Blank, I don't know. Mega Thunder versus anybody, I'm not too sure. Hong Kong Attitude versus anybody, that could still go either way. The only things we're quite sure about right now is Ardent looking amazing. They're not losing anything. And Liberal Supreme have so far lost everything and need to start getting better. Those are the only sure facts. Everything else in the middle could go anywhere.
Yeah, and it's interesting, with Livlin, because that is the team that I've not mentioned in this, but the reality is they've only played 3 games, and they're playing in a 4th one tonight, but they are also still a team with the potential to pick up a win against a team like maybe AHQ or Hong Kong Attitude themselves, who maybe only be that sort of bottom
team Attitude
of
already
the top 4. So far, there's still a second round robin. That's the thing, right? It's not like, oh, Liberland are going to lose everything. It's like we've yet to see them pick up a win, but they've still got the potential. Like, that blue shell could come out of anywhere if you're in this top 4 right now.
And that's exciting as well, because we haven't ruled Liberland Supreme completely out of it just yet. We are going to get back into this game, though, Mango Jai. Look, this is the innovation from the Sombra play that I like to see. And look, I wouldn't even be surprised if Hong Kong Attitude are already thinking about setting up B.
And they probably are. Like Gunman's going to get there like, wait, where are all the health packs? So Hong Kong Attitude now, with that set up, can start kind of going for the slow push that they need. Trill is on this kind of lower ground, though, and they're actually securing this flank as Hong Kong Attitude set up in a bit of a disjointed column there. They didn't really cover their advance, and they kind of get punished for it. But losing Gunba and Eat You Up is good for Hong Kong Attitude now. Blank just need to hold down the fort for a little longer. They
do definitely lower numbers, and Hong Kong Attitude should have reinforced by now, which really says to me they got to use this player advantage while they got it, because Blank Esports, EU Up just reinforced. He's just respawned. You do see the movements around for Hong Kong Attitude now. You got Randy on the top side, Mui on the cap itself, but we need kills.
Mui's a little bit in no man's land here. He's kind of in the middle of it and quite surrounded. Now the pressure is coming in from the rest of his team, but they're going to get the respawn in now. Mango Jai cannot commit the EMP, but Gunba goes down in among all that. This is kind of back and forth right now, but the EMP coming out to secure Huwu and RQT means with the few remaining members, plus the closer spawns, Hong Kong Attitude will get that first point.
That was interesting because Mango Joe could have probably afforded to not use the EMP there. There was only 2 members alive for Blank, and that was Huwu and RQT. Actually, after getting EMP'd by Gunba, they cleaned up a lot of the kills and still cleaning up kills. So now we are looking at a situation where Hong Kong Attitude can use momentum. That's really important. More ultimates still coming up, but they don't have the EMP from Mango Joy. I think if they did, they'd be looking at capping a 3rd or 2.
Yeah, but if Shaolin gets a good pulse bomb, they could still very much get that 3rd or 2. Huss early kill onto Mui could be all they need to secure it as they use the space Huwu self-destruct gives them. Randy not committing his own, and Blank using the few tools they have available rather, plus a couple of key picks are going to hold down for now.
This definitely looks like Blank in that Temple of Anubis series as well, just really curving off that pressure, the early pressure from the momentum push from the other team. So on Temple, it was Machi who did that. Now it's against Hong Kong Attitude, who, by the way, have a resounding amount of ultimates that they can come in with. So it's not just over yet for Blank, but they did get past something that was hard.
That's a very early ult out of Huss there. Obviously, really respecting the hack out of Mango Jai, but it hadn't actually finished when he used that.
I feel like he felt a little bit threatened there, but now he's going to get hacked if he's not careful. EMP should just pretty much go straight on top of it.
Right into the middle of them. But no one's quite there to follow it up just yet, and actually Ating is going to have to use this Primal Rage. It's kind of been forced out. EMP in response now as Blank still have some resources. They actually want to hold on to Trill's Primal Rage here, it seems. Not committing that one, given they have those respawns, and they're wasting a lot of Hong Kong Attitude's time here as they close out now on Shaolin. The only thing they've lost themselves has been Huwu's mech, which he's actually going to get back as well, so he's not even going to have to go back to spawn to reset it. Now the fight has probably been dragged out a bit too long for Hong Kong Attitude to push it over the edge themselves. Losing Randy's mech as well, they're just going to have to take this one on the chin and regroup properly.
Yeah, I think so as well. For Hong Kong Attitude, they are losing members while picking up other members. They're actually getting favourable trades, 2 for 1 in a lot of cases. But, you know, against a defensive team on an assault map, I don't think that's even still a good enough trade. So Hong Kong Attitude need even better trades than that. The good EMP from Mango Jai, if he can get it done before Gunba can get in, that's going to be really big, because when both teams have had EMPs, usually Gunba gets his off first.
Yeah, it's actually quite a fair point. Mango has his up now, but Gunba has his as well. And I do feel Gunba's had a bit more discipline with his EMP use. He's often had it up to start closing out the fight rather than open it up.
I don't think opening up's fine, but you need to have the pressure to be able to clean up the kills. So here we go, Mango Jai maybe looking for something.
It's a good hack onto Huwu, actually, and they go ahead and commit the EMP on that Gunba trigger finger out there. Mango commits his own, and it's Blank indeed getting cleaned up. Now Trill pops the ultimate to give them some time, and Huwu's still alive, just barely, so they may just stall this one out. They did pick Mango, and Mui's getting pressured out here, but he's not dead yet, and has a bit of safety in the Meteor Strike. They need to get a lot more than this Blank, even with these respawns coming in. Sound barrier now for Hong Kong Attitude to last the second wave of attackers from Blank. Huss in trouble in the thick of it with no front line in Trill anymore. Huwu can buy time with the self-destruct and the mech and indeed everything. And he's going to need to use all of the time he can get from that. No third just yet for Hong Kong Attitude. Respawns in for Blank. This is another opportunity. They still need to secure the kill since they've so far failed to do so. They pick Mui though. That's the one they need. They do not have a Ting, but they did force the ultimate out. Actually, Hong Kong Attitude sneak a third through even as they lose Mango Jai in among that one, but Blank look like they should be able to repel this with their respawn advantage in just another round of them.
I mean, it's basically just Gunba. Huwu's still here, but he's going to go down as well. 2/3 have gone through, and now it's all respawners from Blank.
The remaining members of Hong Kong Attitude actually secured kills that I don't think Blank were expecting them to get. Now suddenly it's back wow, double pulse bomb. And right as Blank was set to secure it, they just got some extra respawns. They had a bit of a numbers advantage. They then lost a few, and then lost what was essentially a 3 versus 3 with a respawn advantage.
I mean, eventually you get to the sort of stage where, by the way, Hong Kong Attitude were on the Camp B for so long that it's starting to slow down the respawns from Blank. So you have to take that into consideration just a little bit, because Blank were starting to respawn and reinforce just a little bit slower. And Mango Jai even went onto the soldier to get himself back onto the point a little bit quicker. So for Hong Kong Attitude, they weren't ready to give it up just yet. For a few moments, it did look like Blank were going to hold that one out without giving up even a third. Then that first third came through. It's like, okay, got yourself a third. Blank Esports still reinforcing, they're still coming back onto the camp, still getting kills, but it is trades. Still trades, unfortunately, in the favor of Hong Kong Attitude. And eventually, look, they overpower Blank.
And I think that final moment there when, like I said, there was about a 3 versus 3 because of the kills that Hong Kong Attitude suddenly got through, it was very brave of them to commit to that.
The car.
But
as you were saying.
As I was saying, yeah, it was very brave of them to commit to that. And, well, it paid off. And that's the thing, right? It's, okay, let's give this a go. Because if it does pay off, we just win it outright right now. And if it fails, well, we were just going to have ended up pulling back and regrouping and attacking again anyway. Like, it's one of those plays that doesn't really have a terrible result no matter what. You might as well go for it. And I really respect Hong Kong Attitude for having the confidence to go for that, because I feel like a lot of teams would have actually given Blank maybe a bit more respect than they needed in that situation.
Well, that's the thing about teams, right? You have to be able to identify, look, can we actually win this or not? Is this a winnable situation, or do we need to back off? So to actually identify the win condition and identify where the hole is and where you can actually get this victory, that's really important for Hong Kong Attitude. They saw that this is how we're going to win, and if we do these things, meet these conditions, we're going to be able to get there.
All right, well, now Blank, 2 minutes 46 will be the cap time to ideally match, but if nothing else, they need to cap with some time left on the clock so that they can push this one to time make. That is their only opportunity left to push it back over in their favor, but that's it. Double kill for Mui there, and even did the honors of taking Humu out of the mech himself as well.
Gumba's just suicide here. He's wasting a lot of time.
Interesting, by the way, it's Mui on the Doomfist and not Shaolin.
Honestly, Mui shouldn't have chased that because Gumba had to suicide anyway. Look, Mui just gave himself away to Gumba. This is, you know, we are still seeing these micro mistakes come out of Hong Kong Attitude ever so slightly. You talk about a chaotic game that they had against Flash Wolves. I mean, this is why it looked chaotic, because every so now and often, it is just Hong Kong Attitude doing stuff that maybe they shouldn't.
Sorry, every so now and often?
So I'm making up new terms.
Every so often, every now and then.
Mick every so now and often.
Can I have a large Mick every so now and often combo? Now, this is the big commit actually out of Hong Kong Attitude in with the EMP, but it's kind of blowing up in their faces. All they got if it was Gunba. Huss is still alive, and getting a ting in that was good news for them. They finally lose Huss and Chill here. Respawns are a bit closer though for Blank, and losing Mui, Hong Kong Attitude have to really respect that Blank can actually keep up the pressure here, and they're not going to have a last-ditch EMP to come in and save them.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty scrappy. This is looking a lot less controlled than some of the other maps or some of the other fights even within this map so far. So Hong Kong Attitude remaining in control just for the time being. Yeah, for how long?
Full respawn for both. Mui has time to actually join his team. Huss goes down onto the health pack, even though he knows it's hacked. Now Mui rejoins the fray, and Huss has already had to leave the fight altogether. How often are we seeing this? And Mui can get a lot more done with this ultimate. He's going to try and cut off the retreat path for these supports. Gunba's got nowhere to hover to as Humu takes a dive. Doesn't look like Gunba's getting out. Indeed, he is not. And RQT goes down for good measure. So Blank, again, unsuccessful on the attack.
And they are running out of time here. Look, if you want to match Hong Kong Attitude's time, if you actually want to cap Volskaya, cap B in general, you got to get a decent amount of momentum and push from the time you get from cap A to start with. So if you're not getting that, suddenly you're in the face of a very difficult progression onto cap B, which we know is definitely hard to do.
All right, Hong Kong Attitude, all they need to do is hold out for a minute and a half. That's about 2 or maybe 2.5 fights remaining. And with this EMP available, it should be too difficult.
See you later, apparently.
Ooh.
Blank.
That's a good stick. It's going to take out Trill, actually, the extra damage securing that one as Mango commits this EMP so that they can secure the fight, and secure indeed they do. Holding on to a good number of ultimates as well, and by the way, Blank are really struggling to find time to charge up their own ultimates here.
They got a couple, and they got a couple not because they've been actively charging them, more so that they've just been saving them. So for Hong Kong Attitude, you're getting a lot more rotations in there, you're getting a lot more ultimates being used, so overall, the number of ultimates having used this game, Hong Kong Attitude have definitely had that.
Mango may just have an EMP up. In fact, he almost certainly will by the time this fight comes to its conclusion. And this could be the final fight as well. Blank, with what little they have, need to get a lot done. RQT early sound barrier. CQB not matching with it just yet. Now he goes out with his own pulse bomb, goes wide from Eat You Up, and he is a little bit worse for wear. It's a forced transcendence from Gunba. And they take out Mui. They're finally getting the kills on the board, but they need to get a lot more from that. Hustle's getting pressured further and further back, but crucially, he is still alive as the EMP connects. But a ting is down. There isn't anyone to follow up on the EMP this time around, and it looks like Blank are finally going to find the opportunity to get into this one and get a point cap. They are still in this. It is not over just yet, but it was very hard fought. And
reluctantly, Hong Kong Attitude are going to have to back out of this. The big factor was the fact that Mango Jai didn't get his EMP up in time. You saw that by the time he did get it up, a bunch of his teammates were actually down. Blank Esports were in control. All the defensive ultimates were out of the game already. If Hong Kong Attitude had the EMP a little bit earlier, this could could have been a very different fight, but Blank pulled the trigger when they needed to, which is when Mango Jai didn't have it, and so they get awarded with that cap.
Blank actually have an opportunity to snowball here, especially if they get a good pulse bomb, because they've got this tactical visor to secure a good number of kills, and they've got the staying power. Oh yeah, I was gonna have to wait for that one.
That's when you push the button on the left.
No way. And again,
you push the button on the left and wait for it to come back.
Mango's actually stopped him from getting onto that platform with his team now. Mui just uses ultimate, but they've lost to Ting and Randy. This is a bit of a misfire from Hong Kong Attitude. While they were trying to be clever on the back end of this, Blank actually just went straight down the middle. The tactical visor did a lot of work for Trill to close out kills, but they are now out of resources. The EMP is out, but Mango goes down with no follow-up for the EMP. The respawns are coming in for the DPS, but Huss is largely unchallenged here, and that seems to be all the difference right now. They haven't got themselves a third just yet, but they are looking in decent shape. They are still getting kills. They just need to secure these last few out. CQB swapping out to a third DPS here. They really need to get a good number quickly here, Blank. Otherwise, the respawn advantage can start to overpower them, but they're keeping in a tight position. IEU Up has now rejoined the fray. CQB, though, securing it as he comes in for the respawn. Only a couple of kills so far, but it's
that's a big kill.
Wow, that is a big kill indeed, and it has stopped the third from going through. That is so rough for Blank because they were so on the cusp of getting that opening third.
And now you're threatening the sort of scenario where actually you can't work for thirds. You've got 2 minutes and 30 left. You need about 1 minute for each third to reliably get that done. So they don't have that option anymore. They got to get 2 thirds in one push, then maybe get the last third on overtime at best. Otherwise, you're just going to get it all done in one single push, and we know how difficult that is.
CQB on the Reaper totally saved that there, I'll be completely honest, and a good number of ultimates again available for Blank, so they can just go for a big snowball again in a way, but like you said, yeah, can't play for thirds anymore. They have to get minimum 2 thirds off a push.
And Mango Jai's got EMP for this fight, which is going to be a really big deal. Specifically, you know, Eat Up is going to be the target, or Gumba's going to be a big target. If Gumba can transcendence to counter this,
Shylin out early. There's the EMP, and RQT does go down to that self-destruct. But Edu are picking Mango Jai. Mui's needing to get something big with this Meteor Strike, but he just goes down. He lands on a Pulse Bomb. The trade buffs are there, though, for Hong Kong Attitude, but this Tactical Visor doing work. Huss still alive. Ooh, finally going down to a Ting, and that, again, is going to stop Blank just shy of a third. They did lose their healers through that. They don't have the staying power. They're out of DPS, and they've exhausted all their resources as well. They will not have a strong-looking fight as they come in for the next one.
Trill getting out of this is pretty important, not feeding any additional ultimates. Who are resetting the make over the side from Mui as well. CQB didn't even need to go to the Reaper for this one. Okay, he went really far off the map, but 1 minute and 10 seconds left to go, and you actually got less ultimates to work with. The best fight for Blank was about 2 fights ago when they had about 4 ultimates, but Hong Kong Attitude weathered that storm. The storm is not ended, though, for Blank Esports because Mango Jai about to hit that EMP again, and we know how effective that's been. Big changes in composition for Blank, though. This is the final hurrah.
Yeah, and they're just looking to get good picks out of Huss. I'll be honest, the Soldier really felt like it was working, and a lot of the time Huss wasn't getting too challenged. Keeping his eyes out for Mango Jai, though, looking for that hack on Hubu as he tries to position in. So a lot of respect's being given to the Sombra, and they know the EMP is going to be up.
You hope they do know, because RQT is going to have to make a pretty big play to be able to get the for the sound barrier in there in time to make sure he saves his teammates. If he sound barrier too early, it will get cancelled out by the EMP. The mind games are...
Oh, Trill. And they're trying to secure out Trill now. That is a good time sound barrier, though. Randy loses the mech despite the sound barrier. Shylin, nothing out of the pulse bomb just yet, but they need to secure a lot more. It's Huu's mech going down. There's Gunba down and out for the count, and now Huu as well. RQT, the solo healer, and that's starting to cost them a little bit. The final attack is all over Rover. Hong Kong Attitude already 2-0 up in the series, and now with a 2-1 finish on Assault, they are going to secure this surely, unless something nuts comes out. No one there to contest it, and Hong Kong Attitude will take out Blank resoundingly with a 3-0 victory.
And that definitely looks like the homecoming that Hong Kong Attitude have been waiting for. That's the homecoming that says, look, here's the door to the club. Welcome back. You've renewed your membership. This is exactly where you're meant to be sitting. You get your seat at the table, and Hong Kong Attitude continue that at least win streak against Blank Esports, and suddenly bouncing back on the leaderboards as well. 2 and 3 is what they got to work with. A 1 and 4 would have looked really bad for them. 2 and 3, suddenly their opportunity to get back in the top 4 is a lot more realistic.
And this is Hong Kong Attitude, who towards the end of Season 1 beat both of the teams that made it into the semi-finals. They would honestly have sat there going, we could have done it. It should have been us. And this time around, after a performance like that, it might just be.
I think so. And, you know, if we're talking about making playoffs, definitely have to say yep. At the same time, look, they've played against all of the top finishers, except I believe they haven't played ASQ yet, but they played against Ardiant, they played against Flash Wars, they played against Blank. Lose to Ardiant quite heavily, just barely lose to Flash Wars.
Very close.
And then beat Blank somewhat rather convincingly. The only thing that was a little bit concerning was you expect Assault to be the easiest one. Actually, that was the hardest one for Hong Kong Attitude. Assault felt like the most challenged map for Hong Kong Attitude. And actually, the other two were far more comfortable, especially Kings. Kings was so good for Hong Kong Attitude, which is a total 180 flip because Kings was the map they struggled so much against. Flash Wars last night, it was their worst map.
Yeah, and it was also, by the way, the game mode and also map that they had the hardest time on for the majority of Season 1 as well, actually. So, I mean, it's really just a sign of their continued improvement, actually, from that very first iteration of Hong Kong Attitude we ever saw. And if they've continued to improve that consistently, not just over Season 1, but now coming into Season 2 as well, that's when you really start to wonder how high the ceiling is. And look, if we feel now that they're a team that is going to push for playoffs, at the very least a semi-final, you have to really start considering that by the time we get to that semi-final, they may very well be a finals-worthy team. And the question will start to become, which will be the other one?
Ardiant. No, well, I mean, it's easy.
Don't actually answer that.
Well, that's the thing, is it's easy to say, right? Because Ardiant is so far
top in the standings,
and they've been cruising through all their competition, including Hong Kong Attitude. So, look, Hong Kong Attitude, look, that was week 1. Hong Kong Attitude
Day
week 2.
Day 1, in fact.
Well, sure, you add that in there. That's definitely a factor. Hong Kong Attitude of week 2 look better than Hong Kong Attitude week 1. I think the second round robin will be very telling of exactly what who's going to be in there, but actually what the results might actually start to look like. And that should be obvious anyway, because the second round robin is the last chance to collect points. Let's take a look at the replays though while we have the time here. It's going to be the first attack on through from Hong Kong Attitude.
And this was also the successful one. So a lot of what happens here, Gunba commits the ENP, but eyes on Mui, he's actually out from the center of it, which means he still has all his mobility, goes straight in, knocks Gunba, they start getting aggressive onto Huss, and though Trill gets a couple of neat-looking kills on the tanks, Mui is the one going unopposed. And now, with Mango getting his own EMP, Mui is there to make cleanup duty. We talk a lot about EMPs where there are DPS left to clean up, and EMPs where there aren't. Where there are DPS left to clean up, it sometimes doesn't matter that there aren't any more tanks, as odd as that is to say, because often you really need the tanks in the dive, or your DPS is just way too squishy. But when they're lacking in that mobility, you've got a Doomfist there, you've got that one-shot potential as it is. Trill nearly saved it for Blank, but ultimately it was not at all an unexpected win there for Hong Kong Attitude. It was just clean execution throughout.
And I think you got to highlighting Mui there was important because he did save himself from getting caught in the EMP. He would have been really, he would have probably have died in the EMP.
He was watching Gunba's position. He was ready for it.
And that's really important as a Doomfist play going up against Sombra, right? Because he immediately punched Gunba and secured that kill as soon as EMP came down. Then he got a rising uppercut on Trill as well, who, by the way, was the one guy who was getting some kills on the other side for Blank against Hong Kong Attitude. So just well played specifically by Mui to really mitigate where the danger was against his team and be able to secure that win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's take a look at the next replay now. This one's going to be, I think,
I actually think this
slightly later on for the attack, I believe.
This is, I believe, the beginning of Hong Kong Attitude, what became their eventual cap, and you'll see how long this fight actually gets protracted for. A lot of it is the stagger that happens with RQT and Huwu's death right there. Huss comes back in, Trill is using this Primal Rage, but Huss only just rejoins the fight now. Eduup is already dead. Trill is only defending for 1 DPS, who's having a much harder time getting in, and then they keep these kills staggered. You'll notice they don't have a third just yet, but look at their backline. It's going totally unopposed, and they're running that triple DPS, so they've got that really explosive setup. When you're a triple DPS, by that point in a fight, if you've secured that positioning just enough and no one's able to dive your backline, which, by the way, is what Trill would ideally be wanting to do in that situation, and that doesn't mean he was misplaying. He did need to be stalling out the point itself, but when you're unopposed, by that point, you're probably going to start turning the tide of the battle despite the respawn advantage because of how the deaths are getting staggered there.
Let's take a look at the MVP player of the game now. It's going to go to Mui on the McCree, specifically on King's Row. Now, I kind of make the argument that I would almost give it to Randy, but you got to give it to McCree and you got to give it to Mui because the one key factor that Mui did quite well was Deadeye's aside. Look, Deadeye's look flashy, but what he really did to win the game, flashbang kills onto Eat You Up. Because
the first 2 people to die on King's Row was Eat You Up twice.
But I gotta say,
to a flashbang headshot.
But just to reiterate, the reason why that was important is because what was the problem for Hansung Lijiang? That problem was Shailin. How are you going to treat that problem? You're going to use IE to challenge him on the Tracer, and suddenly that's been taken out of the fight as well because of Mui. So for Hong Kong Attitude, you look at where your strong points are, you look at where your weak points are, and you've mitigated everything. You've answered the threats from the other side, and that's how you win the game.
Exactly, and I also mentioned it as well. On Lijiang Tower, we actually saw the opposite. We saw Blank running the McCree with no Tracer, and we saw Hong Kong Attitude running a Tracer. And Eat You Up was not having the same impact as Mui was on the McCree. That is an inherent disparity that now exists between these two teams, and I think that is one of the first times I've ever been able to say that for Blank.
Yeah, I think so as well. So it's definitely a thing, but also have to consider different maps, different game modes.
Certainly.
Talk about that later because we are going to go to the post-match interview with Mui, and I'll translate this one over.
先跟大家打个招呼。
So introduce yourself.
Hello， 我是 HK 的 DPS Boy。
So I'm Hong Kong
好，
Attitude.
那刚刚在看比赛就发现小林跟你都用拳王。那木易出牛仔的时候，小林就用拳王；木易拿拳王的时候，小林就拿闪
So
光。
you guys
是两个都
play a
有
lot of
练
different
吗？因为一般
compositions.
来
Do
说
you
一
guys
对一
practice
会
each other's
练
heroes
拳王
between you and Shailin?
对的，我们队在团练的时候，我们是轮流在拉那个拳王的，因为
So
为什
we
么
both
是因
play
为
Doomfist.
我的麦凯利比较准嘛，所
But
以
my McCree's
如
better.
果要出麦凯利的时候，就是小林会拉
So
拳
if I
王。
play McCree,
如
then
果不是
Shailin
要
has
出
to
麦
play
凯利的
Doomfist.
时候，那就是我。
But otherwise, I play the
可以看得
Doomfist.
出来对自己的麦考利非常有自信。那我们把时间交给霍夫老师。
我想在这一个 HK 近期的这个比赛是拿到了这一个1胜3败的一个成绩。那在这当
So
中，
you just got a
你
3-0.
个人选手的一个心态是怎么做一个调整的？
So what did you sort of change between
我自己本
before
来
and
没有
now?
很消极的想法啦。譬如说我们输了的时候，我就知道我们会有失误嘛，那失误多的时候就自然会输这样，然后
So I feel like
就一直改进。
You know,
是的，还是
there's
专注
always
在这个赛事的检讨上面。
it's inevitable to lose.
的
It's
话
it's
可能
about looking at your
在
losses
输
and
上面
looking at where you can
更高
improve.
一点点。
对对。
那第二个问题是在这一个我们今天的赛事里面，其实看到木易选手有拿出麦可义这样子一个角色，
So we
也
watch
有
you
拿
play
出
McCree.
拳王的这一个这样子一个角色。其
Watch you play Doomfist.
DPS 跟这个操作系的这个角色，其实相容性真的相差很大。那在这个部分的话，你是已经先行练好了，还是在这个训练的部分有怎么样的一个做出一个
So
规划？
talk to me about your practice methods
这
for
两只
DPS.
脚是在他出的时候，我都会玩了，因为都是输出脚嘛。然后
So I practice all the
再加上
DPSs.
团练的时候，基本上我的团队都在包容我，一直让我去练那个角色，那个角色。
So we specifically train 4 different DPSs
吗？还是
in
正
scrims.
吗
So one scrims I will just play Doomfist for this one to practice.
骂完改了就好了。
哦，但是在今天的这个比赛里面，发挥的真的是非常的精彩。那再来最后一个问题是，我个人私心的一个问题是，昨天在这个对上闪电狼的这个部分，
So yesterday versus
直播
Flash
基地在第二段的这一个进攻方的部分，你是拿出了这个夺命女，那
So you had a Widowmaker
打
yesterday.
掉这一个Bacon Jack， 那一枪是真的是你自己的手感还是？
So you had a really good headshot on
那
Bacon
一
Jack.
枪其实是我都飞上去嘛，然后刚好就看到有人，就
So I
一枪就
I sort of did a hook shot and I just managed to see him
好
to get the
谢谢
shot.
谢谢，真的是非常厉害。
好，那我们谢谢木易。
So there it
也
is,
谢谢我们的
Mui
木
from Hong Kong
谢谢
Attitude. And something I remember is if you go right back to the pre-match discussion between both the sides and the handshake, the word from JFPS was, look, Mango Jai thinks we're going to win today. He's confident. And look, Mango Jai, he's speaking the truth.
Lucky charm. I don't know, but maybe that's all it is. Like, as Mango Jai decreed it, so it shall be. But at any rate, that was like Mango Jai's words aside, it was a well-deserved win. We absolutely must say that Hong Kong Attitude came in today. They were the better team. They won in a 3-0. What else can you expect with, with that kind of cocktail being shaken up there? Like, the better team's going to win. Big shock. And what that says is Blank are no longer irrevocably the second-place team, even though they are the returning second-place team from Season 1. That is out the window now. This is a new season. This is a different caliber of gameplay. And you have to rise to the challenge.
And I think as well, the evidence was as clear as yesterday's results. Hong Kong Attitude 2-3 versus Flash Wolves. It was inevitable that Hong Kong Attitude was going to catch up to these teams. It feels inevitable. And now Hong Kong Attitude have not only done that, but they've overtaken some teams. They beat AHQ last season as well. They may do that again later on, but we're not going to see that just yet. Next up, we will have Liberant Supreme and Flash Wolves. So Liberant Supreme still on 0 and was it 0-3 or 0-4? Either way,
0-3.
they need to be catching up. Flash Wolves are still looking good on 2-0, looking to get a 3-0. And the final match of OPC Season 2, Week 2, Day 2 happens right after this break.